prove you have any sort of system, that you aren't just arbitrarily setting up checkpoints and pulling people out that are brown or Asian or black. Prove that you have citizenship, that you're checking, that you're making sure you're not taking citizens. Prove that you're not jumping people at work and setting up checkpoints as people just try to drive home to their neighborhoods.
Another heated debate unfolded on the Abby Phillip show as Leigh McGowan, Cornel West, and Abby Phillip herself took on MAGA commentator Ben Ferguson. To me, Ben Ferguson is one of the biggest political weasels in the MAGA world, and that is saying something because there is certainly no shortage of them. In this segment, we are going to break down some of the most heated moments between Leigh McGowan and Ben Ferguson, because this exchange quickly turned into a clash over politics, accountability, and the way MAGA talking points are defended. I also have some thoughts of my own that I want to add along the way, so let's take a closer look at what happened and get into this debate together.
Are average Americans wrong to still feel high prices, and how much longer does the White House hope that they?
So I think a lot of people are listening to the fake news a little bit, and I'm not blaming anybody. I think I blame ourselves. I think we've done a much better job than we're able to promote. We're not promoting. We're doing a great job, and we're sort of letting the promotion take care of itself.
At what point will there be an acknowledgement that Americans are seeing what's happening and they're not liking it?
Well, the president, I think, also said that, I think it was the New York Times today, that in some instances things can be handled better and they need to look at it. I think while the public has a perception and some of the approval might be down there, they still trust Republicans and the president by a 28-point margin on the issue of immigration and the border, of handling this. And the reason why is because we saw a press conference, and let's table for a second whether we agree with tactics or how they're doing it. We saw a press conference today hitting ICE and the law enforcement officials who are keeping these communities safe. I don't recall seeing any of those individuals do a press conference when innocent American citizens were killed by dangerous, illegal cartel members, gang members, things like that. And so there's a reason here, and the Democrat Party can cry all they want about how things, there are situations that could be better, 100%. And the president acknowledged that. What can't be denied is that we are in this situation because Democrats under the Biden administration sat back and let this happen for 4 years. But we've had 8 months where not one illegal immigrant has crossed over the border, and that's because of the Trump administration.
I hear what you're saying, but the problem is, you see, it's not a question of Democrats versus Republicans. It's a question of the truth. Choice. The question of the truth. Neither one of the parties want to tell the truth. So if you two just want to continually be preoccupied with being parasitic on the Democrats, we can talk about the Democrats till the cows come home. They might have little to do with truth, little to do with justice. When you're terrorizing and traumatizing a people who are disproportionately chocolate, of course it's racist. Of course it is.
True or false?
What's that, bro?
Did we allow millions of people unvetted into this country, many of them who are criminals, rapists, child molesters, child rapists?
It was a little difficult to hear that part clearly, but I believe Dr. Cornel West said the phrase disproportionately chocolate, which honestly sounds like it could be the name of a band. Somebody really needs to use that as a band name because it is way too good to let it go to waste.
Bangers, people killing people with fentanyl.
Okay, how long is your question gonna go, bro?
Well, it's a long list.
I think you got enough. I think you got enough.
When you let 10 million, 15 million into this country.
Let me tell you what my answer is. Let me tell you what my answer is.
You've got a problem, and you guys did that. Let me tell you what my answer is, though, Brother Ben.
Abby.
What is it?
That there's no doubt that the Democrats did, in fact, were a colossal failure when it came to immigration. That's a fact.
Thank you.
But the other truth is this, though. Let me finish now, brother. Don't just keep your flow coming out of University of Mississippi now.
All right, Dr. West. Everybody keep their hands to themselves at the table, please.
I love this man.
No.
I love this man.
You know I wasn't going to start swinging on you, man. You know that. But it is a rhetorical swing because the fact is this. If every immigrant disappeared in America tomorrow, which makes it a distraction now to talk about immigrants, we still have poverty. We still have deep conflict, class, racial conflict.
You'd have a lot less crime.
Well, you'd have a lot of Native Americans. A lot of Americans.
You'd have a lot less crime.
But no, it's all a distraction. It's all a distraction.
I don't think there's really much evidence at all for that, including that
to the families who have had seconds for children.
No,
there is crime that happens. There's crime that is committed by immigrants, and there's crime that's committed by
What's the number of murders that then would you go to say that's a bad issue?
Immigrants can commit crimes at a lower rate than native-born Americans. That's a fact.
Tell that to any family members had someone killed by an illegal immigrant.
I think that what I'm hearing a lot is the Democrats, Biden. Dr. West explained that. And I think the thing is, it's not political to say that we don't want murderers in our country. We don't want pedophiles in our country. We want those people identified and we want those people punished.
Why are you not working with ICE to get rid of them?
Hold on a second.
No, but it's a fair question.
Hold on a second. Just let her.
And you
No, but you just said you want to get rid of them, but you don't work with ICE.
Let's let her make her point so we can understand what she's trying to say. Go ahead.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Leigh.
We all want that, okay? And if Donald Trump wants to get on TV and say, our problem is we haven't highlighted our accomplishments enough, I would say, great, highlight your accomplishments. Prove it. Prove you are getting the worst of the worst. Show us the murderers and the rapists and the killers that you are arresting. Stop yourself. Then tell us you're not rounding up.
With a picture.
You can't stop yourself, man.
Hang on a second.
Zip it.
Please.
No, I'm sorry, you're not my mom. And second of all, you don't get to make it up. We've had the posters at the White House, the people that have been arrested. You said show them to me. We have showed them to you.
Ben, just a second.
You don't like it.
Ben, just a second. I'll say one thing and then I'm going to let her finish. They have released a short list of names, but they've also claimed that they've arrested thousands of murderers and rapists and criminals. They have not released the full list of thousands of alleged murderers, rapists.
When Ben Ferguson told Leigh McGowan, "You're not my mom," it was almost funny because that kind of response says a lot about how heated the exchange had become. Instead of seriously answering the criticism, he went for a sarcastic comeback, and Leigh McGowan immediately brought the conversation back to the actual issue. This is where the immigration debate gets so frustrating because MAGA commentators constantly talk about dangerous criminals, violent offenders, murderers, and people who supposedly pose a massive threat to the country, but then the conversation rarely comes with the evidence you would expect. If the argument is that these operations are primarily targeting violent criminals, then show us the numbers, show us who was arrested, and explain exactly what crimes they committed. Nobody on the left is arguing that someone who commits murder or another serious violent crime should simply be ignored because of their politics or immigration status. Obviously, serious criminals should be held accountable, and that is not a controversial position for normal people. The problem is that those extreme examples are constantly used to justify much broader enforcement actions against ordinary people who are working, raising families, cleaning houses, doing landscaping, or simply trying to get through their day. That distinction matters, because repeating the most shocking criminal cases over and over can create the impression that every person being targeted is some dangerous predator when that simply is not the reality of the entire population being discussed. And honestly, as much as I disagree with Ben Ferguson and think he often relies on predictable MAGA talking points, there was one thing he seemed genuinely unable to hide during this exchange, and that was his admiration for Dr. Cornel West. Even in the middle of a heated political argument, you could see that respect coming through.
Couple issues here. I mean, obviously, Dr. West, there's the rhetorical question of should it be abolish ICE or should it be something else? But then there's the question that Kristen brought up, which is just because what Trump is doing is unpopular doesn't mean that Democrats are trusted on the issue. How do they find a way to actually have a message on immigration? And should that message be abolish ICE in your view?
Well, I mean, I ran the presidential candidacy based on abolishing ICE and poverty and a lot of other things. And my argument was that if you don't have strong mechanisms of accountability to make sure that people are being treated humanely as human beings and as citizens, then you don't need to have that particular institution. And there's an intimate relation between raw imperialism abroad with no regard for international law or human rights and escalating raw fascism at home with private armies and secret police with no accountability whatsoever. Nobody goes in and treats people the way they do unless they feel that they have immunity, unless they feel that they can get away with it. And in history, black folk really lays that out. Slavery, Jim Crow, police brutality in black community. What?
Would you get rid of police too, though?
Never. Not at all. I want accountability.
Then you're different than Mandani. So that's good.
Well, no, but I tell you about Brother Soran. I tell him this. He's got a police commissioner who not only was a little bit too open to stop and frisk, and many of us went to jail for that, but she also has the role of providing surveillance and data to ICE. So you can't, on the one hand, appear as if you're a sanctuary city and then have a police commissioner.
Let me get Elliot's view on this, because Elliot has also, I mean, you understand this agency well. I think that what ICE has been doing, how they have been transformed now, has made the agency actually very different. I mean, of course, doing traffic stops, just sort of stopping people on the street and forcing them to show their papers is not what ICE was doing 5 years ago.
A couple things. Now, the brand of the agency is largely toxic now. And just by way of comparison, in 2018, the top customs enforcement officials at ICE, many of them, remember, it's immigration and customs enforcement, literally wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security asking to be broken off as a separate agency just because they didn't want to be associated with the immigration side of the House because of how politically polarizing and toxic and problematic it is. But I want to pick up on one thing that Professor West had said. It's not, because you used the word accountability, and what's missing here, and certainly what we had through my 4 years there from both Democratic and Republican Congresses, was a Congress that was willing to look critically at the things that ICE and the rest of DHS was doing. Congress isn't doing that now. There's a very rare issue. The Epstein files seem to be the one thing where Congress has really sort of held the administration's feet to the fire, but there really are not critical questioning or hearings or anything from.
But here's the thing that I think is important. ICE is not having to do what you're watching in Minneapolis, for example, and other cities that cooperate with ICE and work with them on detainers for illegal immigrants that are in jail who have committed crimes. If you don't want this type of, as you described it, chaos or anarchy or law enforcement that worries you, there's a real easy way to fix it. There's about, 200-300 cities in America that cooperate with ICE. And you don't have any of this there.
So just
you don't have any of it there.
But you also don't have 2,000 ICE or Border Patrol officials anywhere else in the nation other than in Minneapolis.
You didn't have the
and on top of that, hold on a second, there were sanctuary cities under Biden, under Obama, under Trump 1. We did not see this happening. And to add to that, look, ICE raids, controversial, always have been, always will be.
Not really.
I think
when Obama was doing it, wasn't controversial.
Certainly,
you guys did right along.
Yes, I did.
Hold on. There was tape of CNN celebrating it, talking about how brave they were.
I had a critique, a strong critique, though, brother.
Okay, but that's
there was a lot of controversy around Trump, around Obama's ICE raids. But here's the thing that's really seems to be getting to Minneapolis residents, but also people like, this is former Congressman Justin Amash, a former Republican congressman. He says, abolish ICE. What we've seen recently isn't immigration enforcement, it's state-sponsored terrorism. They should not exist. They're using the context of immigration as a pretext to sidestep constitutional limits, warrants due process transparency that protect us all from government abuses. It is the masks. It is the random stops. It is the where are your papers? We're going to hold you until we're able to use facial recognition technology to determine whether you're a citizen or not. Those are the things that people like Amash, a libertarian, a constitutionalist type of person, is deeply uncomfortable with. And a lot of Americans might be as well.
I think that was a flawed example, with all due respect to former congressman. He's looking for a way to be relevant. He's using this to do it. I think you both said some really great.
Possible
so you made a really great point early, and so did you. That ICE looks a lot different than it did 5 years ago, and thank God it does. Because 5 years ago we had a huge immigration crisis in this country where people were
millions flooding in
over the border. So I'm so happy ICE looks different than it did 5 years ago because it wasn't working.
So you're comfortable with ICE officers walking around masked and stopping?
To your point. The mask is...
Hold on. No. All right. So we got that answer. Masks.
When it comes to safety...
Inquiring about citizens'
I agree with President Trump.
What are we supposed to travel with our birth certificates now? What's the deal?
I haven't seen that implemented anywhere, but I do agree with the president that there are situations.
I've seen it.
I didn't bring my birth certificate.
We've all seen it.
Hold on, you've done a ride-along where they're saying, show me your birth certificate?
This is a classic.
This is breaking news.
Who at this table has seen ICE or border officials asking people to show documentation of citizenship or where they were born?
Hold on. Do we have a single do we have a single camera of anybody, a body cam that says, show me your birth certificate? This is how fake news happened.
Ben, have you seen evidence of ICE asking people to show
documentation
of their
documentation? Yes.
For documentation of their citizenship of where they were born. Have you seen it?
It's a yes or no.
It's a yes or no question.
That's a normal thing to ask for documentation. Here it is.
The bigger question here is what kind of country Ben Ferguson actually wants people to live in. Imagine simply walking down the street and suddenly having someone approach you demanding to see your papers. while the person questioning you is wearing a mask and you have no clear idea who they are or what authority they have. I seriously doubt Ben Ferguson would be thrilled if that became a normal part of everyday life. That is why I think the argument needs to be looked at much more carefully instead of accepting every talking point at face value. If these officers are carrying out serious law enforcement operations, there should be accountability and transparency about who is exercising that power. People should be able to know who they are dealing with and why they are being stopped. And if the explanation for masked officers is that their identities are being protected because of threats or doxing, then fine, explain the policy and the safeguards clearly. But that still does not mean the public should stop asking questions. This is especially important because the Trump administration has continued to make immigration enforcement a major political issue, and the public is going to judge the results based on what they actually see happening on the ground. If the message is that ICE is primarily focused on dangerous criminals, then people naturally expect the evidence to match that message. When the images and stories coming out instead focus heavily on workers, parents, immigrants, and ordinary people being detained, that creates a very different public perception. And that is where the political problem begins for Trump and the MAGA movement. You can repeat the same talking points every day, but eventually people are going to compare those claims with what they are actually seeing. So I want to hear what you think about this debate. Do you agree with Ben Ferguson's defense of ICE and the way these operations are being carried out, or do you think Leigh McGowan and Abby Phillip raised legitimate concerns about who is actually being targeted and how these arrests are happening? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the discussion, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more political commentary.